and you couldn't play Sinatra because Gotti sent the message when Sinatra stood him up. He was going to stick the 2 bottles of Cristal up him and Fat Jilly. You ever hear that story?
No, please.
So John and Joe Watts were at a casino or a hotel. They went where Sinatra was performing, and he sent Joe Watts to tell Sinatra, "Meet me. I'd appreciate if you meet me for a drink after the show." And Sinatra said, "Tell him thank you, but I don't feel good. I got another show tomorrow. I'm just going to stay in." So John Sr. and Joe Watts are having dinner. Sinatra walks in with Jelly to the restaurant, sits down, sees John, and he sends over 2 bottles of Cristal. John used to drink Cristal. Joe Watts takes the 2 bottles, turns over to the Sinatra table, slams them on the table, and says, "The next time, whatever he said, I'm going to stick both these bottles up each one of you." This big Jelly, tough guy. His pants. And then that was it. Nobody could like Sinatra after that. Nobody. I was a big Sinatra guy, and I came into the crew, and they're like, no. Shut that off. We don't listen to Sinatra. I'm like, what the There's the Gotti rules like back then. Wow. John was king, man. John, whatever he did, I remember they gray flannel. Everybody had a bottle. John used to wear gray flannel. Everybody had a bottle of gray flannel in their glove box, just out of respect. And green, you couldn't own a car that was green. You couldn't wear green sneakers.
Why?
Green was envy. John didn't like the color green. This is all the that they would tell me.
Oh, yeah.
It was I understand it, but it was the Gotti effect. That was the Gotti family, not the Gambino family. And that trickled down. That was his neighborhood. Ozone Park, Howard Beach, Woodhaven. He rang bells. The women loved him. The families loved him. But everybody in the life, that was their God. That was the Pope,
Why couldn't you guys watch the movie about him though? It's not
because back then, you remember it's 1996. He just got convicted 5 years ago. They're treating him like a terrorist over in Marion, and you want to turn around. It's still not accepting that you could talk about the life.
Yeah.
The tapes were, people weren't as big as it is today. The tapes were out. He ruined that guy. He was adored by everybody, me included. You know what I mean? Everybody. And that's just the way it was. It was shut down HBO. Why would you want a movie about? If you're in that life, you want to hate that. You don't want movies about you, because now the feds grow a bigger hot on, saying, "Now there's a movie about him." They didn't start making movies about Al Capone until he died. You know what I mean? And that guy was a bootleg. He wasn't even a wise guy. He was never even straightened out. John was hated by the government. They let a guy go for 19 murders, and they didn't have one murder John ever committed. That's how bad they wanted him. Now they're glorifying it, which probably is one of the best gangster shows that was ever made, was the Gotti in 96. The opening monologue, not even The Godfather can, compare to that. The opening monologue for 1996 crushes any movie. And that's a spit in the face to the government. And that's 1996. The mob wasn't dead yet.
Right.
So that's you don't shut that down. Get that canceled. That's what that's about.
Yeah. Why did he rock the hand-painted colorful ties?
All those guys. If I showed you guys today that still wear those things, that whole crew that grew up with him that has money wore hand-painted. And the ties are tailored to your body. Because I went in for fittings for the tie goes perfectly to your thing for your height. That was class.
Yeah, it looks sweet.
Brioni suits. We all, we wore Brioni because of him. We wore Take 6. It was a little bit cheaper, but because of him, that's who he was. He traded his Lincoln in for the Mercedes. He got the Mercedes as a gift. He was just that guy. Who was wearing painted ties? Nobody knew about that till John was wearing them.
And how much were those running?
Oh, probably 1,000, 1,500, some 2,000. Suits were $5,000. The suits were. There's guys in the life today that wearing $10,000 Brioni suits, but nobody was known. John wasn't the only guy. There was tons of guys from Brooklyn and Staten. Paul's whole crew wore $10,000 suits from England. You know what I mean? He lived in a mansion. You're talking about John, who lives in a small house in Howard Beach. It was bought when it was a lower middle-class neighborhood. Is wearing $5,500 Brioni suits. And you're making a big deal about that? He's flashy? The problem is the news were recording him every day. The news went to Brooklyn and Staten Island and recorded the captains in the Gambino family. They were wearing Paul was wearing suits from England that were $12,000. They never made a big deal about that. He lived in a house. They nicknamed it the White House. Why didn't he ruin the mob? Just the cameras were in John's face.
And why was he such an attraction for the media outlets? Like, why was he idolized by everybody so much?
Just the way people idolize gangsters today. You're sitting home in your comfortable house, safe, and you get to live through him on TV. He's good looking. He knows how to dress. He knows how to talk. He's the king of New York. He's our modern day Al Capone, just better looking.
That's a valid point.
You know, and the guy, the neighbors love him. Tell me what crimes he committed. Tell me who he killed. You can't. He ordered this, he ordered that. What is this, grade school? You know, you're going to jump off a building if I tell you to?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. I'm not glorifying it, but I'm also not putting the guy down. I'm not going to be. I come on any podcast, I tell anybody, I will not talk bad about the life. I loved it, what it stood for, and what it was back then. It's finished today. But for what it was, I stand by it. I'll always stand by it.
Why did you choose the Gambinos?
Because of Ronnie. I only wanted to be
Only
with him.
because of him. And what about him?
I grew up around the banana field. I grew up around Vinny Sarah my whole life as a kid.
And so why did Ronnie outweigh Vinny as far as you idolizing him and wanting to be around him?
Because Ronnie was well known in East New York with the Spanish and the black. And I'd never seen anybody put fear in people the way Ronnie did. We had crews that used to hang out on every corner. I lived on 76th Street. There was 2 crews on 75th Street, a crew on 77th Street, and a crew on Drew Street. Ronnie would drive at certain, like, couple times a day to Drew Street. That's where, you know, Drew Street is the borderline of Brooklyn and Queens, East New York and Ozone Park. Make a U-turn, like a movie, and then drive back down the avenue. As he was driving down the avenue, each crew would hide because he would get out of the car and catch anybody on the corner and open your head out. He didn't want nobody on the corner. All the stores paid him protection. Nobody on the corners, nobody harassing people. He brought that element. So I remember 1986 when the Mets won. The whole avenue was turned up. But I mean, I could talk about every 4th of July since 1981, I remember. I thought he was a gangster. Ronnie didn't get straightened out till 1989. I was almost already off the avenue. Everybody thought he was a boss. Not even just a wise guy, like he was a boss. And he wasn't. That's how he portrayed himself. And everybody thought he was the drug dealer in the mob. He didn't know one thing about drugs. He extorted all the drug dealers, and that's what I loved. He put fear in guys that put fear in people. You know, usually in that life, you're only putting fear in guys that are scared of everybody. He didn't. He put fear in the right guys. And anytime I remember as a kid listening to my older friends, shook a guy down, robbed a guy, beat a guy, he's with Ronnie, he's with Ronnie, he's with Ronnie. Everybody was with Ronnie. That's just the way it was, you know? Vinny was a nutcase. He was out of his mind and probably had the biggest crew when I was growing up. But I just wasn't intrigued by it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ronnie was it was like a different ball game with that guy.